you want to be successful? Do you want to grow your business? Do you want to dominate the day? Then you're going to need big skip energy. Allie, welcome to the Big Skip Energy Podcast with Kayla Callender.
Thank you.
I'm glad you could join us today. Listen, before we get started, for my listeners that don't know you, don't know who you are, what you're all about, can you give us an introduction?
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me. I did not really recognize how epic the name of this podcast was till you said it out loud. So much respect. Very funny name and I like it. But I am a 24-year-old that recently entered the mortgage industry back in June of 2022. And I grew up in a household with two mortgage parents. I was always like, never will I be in the mortgage industry. I lived through 2008. We switched grocery stores. We switched cars. Like, it really impacted our family. And I was like, won't ever do it. So I went to school for sales and I knew I wanted to be in some type of sales role where I got to talk with people every day. I got to kind of make my hours and actually add value. So I went to work for Oracle when I graduated. And a good buddy of mine, Blake Boss, who actually led me to the sales program at Florida State, he called me and was like, hey, I know you're in sales. Do you want to come do it for my company? And I was like, tell me about your company. And he's like, oh, well, it's in the mortgage industry. And I'm like, no. And he was like, come on, like, just give it a shot. It's in your blood. You just try it. And I was like, fine. I trust you with everything. After a little bit of persuasion, I ended up going to a conference through Active Comply and fell in love with the industry, with the people, with our product, and just the way that it's helping more lending institutions to utilize social media. It really just spoke to my passion. So Active Comply, we help banks, credit unions, IMBs to utilize platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, Facebook to build their brand, much like both of you guys have built a tremendous brand for yourselves in the industry. My hope is that Active Comply can allow more companies to encourage their employees to utilize social media. So that is my elevator speech. I've been in the industry for a little over a year now, and I've been to, I want to say like 11 or 12 industry conferences. So I'm learning a lot. I think, Skip, you and I did not officially meet at the Acuma workshop.
Well, if you count me running up to you and being like, hey, I want you to be on my show. Let's talk in a few minutes. That counts to me as me.
It did, but we didn't get
then
to
she like got the hell out of there. She did not wait to see. I was like, hey, let's talk at 3:00. And she was like, oh God, I got a call. I got to go. I'm sorry.
I had a call at 3:30 that I had to be in the car for. It was either in the car or not on the road yet. So I was like, oh, I didn't get to meet him, but I'm going to follow up. So I'm glad that we set up some time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm just giving you a hard time, of course, but no, that still counts. But yeah, you and I met, we met at an Acuma event. So the American Credit Union Mortgage Association met at a workshop. It's pretty cool. So,
but 11 to 12 conferences in what, a little over a year? That's what you've done?
Yeah, I was looking back. I'm creating like a TikTok reel right now for my LinkedIn. I'm going to save it and then put it on my LinkedIn for TMC. The Mortgage Collaborative is coming up and it's in Nashville. So I've been like trying to recollect all my weekends and my weeks at Nashville to put something together. And as I'm looking back at the past year here, I was on the road more than I probably was in Nashville. And I did not realize that till my lunch break today. I'm like trying to find different videos and I'm like, so yeah, I guess I have been all over the place.
That's a lot. So I want to talk about a little bit about you getting into Active Comply. So tell me, are you finding, is your role to, you say, help organizations, banks, credit unions, etc., what are you finding is a hurdle? Are you finding that so many people say, oh, there's compliance involved, I'm just going to throw in the towel, I don't even want to go there? What are you finding is a hurdle with these organizations?
That's a great question. So I think really where I'm not struggling, but I think as I'm building this awareness, hey, if you're not on social media, like you could very well be missing a tool in your tool belt. So I think my generation will come to expect that from any service provider or a person that they want to work with or trust. And so when I first entered the industry, I attend all these conferences. People are like, marketing to Gen Z, how to reach Gen Z. And I'm like, the only one that's actually a Gen Zer in the room. And I would hear things and I'm like, that's spot on. That's not so much. And so I really jumped to LinkedIn and start talking about, hey, it's important not only to be on social media, because that's how I'm reaching you now, well, that's how I talk on LinkedIn, but also it's really important just in building your brand. And in a market right now, it's really hard to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel, and social media is a great way to be engaging with more people. So I think really my first hurdle was you need to be on it. And then in that, it's like people are like, okay, I know I need to, but where do I start? And that's really the biggest issue that I'm dealing with now is people realize like, hey, especially like at the executive level, I'm talking to DC level executives and I'm like, hey, why aren't you on, or like, hey, let's talk about active comply. And they're like, I need it, but nobody knows how to start on social media. And that's really my biggest struggle is it's trying to empower these loan officers and their managers. Hey, you need to be on social media because if you're not, you're slowly going to be left behind.
Well, and a lot of the people that are on social media, their managers might not be. And so they don't even have guidance from anybody. So they go online and then it's paralysis by analysis. Well, now there's these algorithms and there's TikTok and there's this, and it's almost like people don't even want to try because they're overwhelmed. And so I love that you say it's that first hurdle of they don't even know where to start. So where do you come in?
Oh, no, I think you might have froze a little.
Uh-oh, she froze.
That's okay. I think
she's unfrozen now.
Okay.
Kayla, ask your question one more time.
It's Fargo, you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I warned you first. How do you get over that hurdle of just getting people started? Like they don't take that step.
Absolutely. So I start usually like today, I've been offering these workshops to some of our clients like, hey, I want to make sure you're getting the full use out of our compliance software, but in that you need to actually be active on social. So let me come in and do a workshop with your team. So today I did a workshop and I was just telling them like the first hurdle, like you said, is starting, but I put them in my shoes. Like here I am, a 24-year-old in a room full of all of these CEOs, CFOs, people who are very well versed in the industry. And so I had this idea to start posting about Gen Z. And my biggest fear was, oh my gosh, I'm going to be discredited. All these people already think that I'm a fish out of water at these conferences. What are they going to think about my video content? And I just remember having this mentality of the worst thing that can happen is I don't ever try. And it was like, I am 8 months into my LinkedIn video series and trying to talk and connect with our industry. And looking back, if I would have never posted that first video, it was the scariest thing ever. And I had people messaging me, like the first one went up and it had a loop where 5 minutes in, it was just going over and over. And one of my friends here in Nashville, who's like in the medical field, saw it. And he was like, hey, I think it's great that you're doing this, but just so you know, it has a loop at 5:20 or whatever the seconds was. And it'd been up for an hour. So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, what do I do? People are probably making fun of me, like da-da-da-da. And it was the smallest problem and nobody noticed. And I messed up on the first video and I still don't regret it. So I think the biggest thing is overcoming that mentality and realizing like this is going to be a part of the future, whether you like it or not, but it's a matter of when you decide to start.
So what are you seeing though, or I guess, what are you seeing as the most common prescription for someone who's like, hey, I know I need to do it. Help me get over that fear. What do you typically tell them?
Yeah, it's funny today or last night, I finalized the presentation that I updated for this morning and I had found these 2 resources. So one of them was the back of the phone. I don't have it on my phone right now, but on the back of a phone, you can have these little sticky things so that you can put them up against a wall, record content wherever you are. Right. So there's no excuse. If you have good lighting in one part of the house, but not the other, stick it to the wall, just talk. Maybe investing in a Ring camera or a lighting for the top of your laptop or your phone. And that's really the only resources I would recommend. But I think some of the best videos are a lot of people are in our industry. You guys can see like on a walk. Hey, let's talk about this. I'm walking my dog after work, or I'm on my lunch break trying to get some vitamin D in. And so in that, I think that's the best type of video formatting for someone wanting to get started. Hey, I'm Allie. I'm with Active Comply. I'm just on here today to tell you about what I do for a living and how I can help you in the home buying process. And just a 30-second clip. This is what I do. This is why I do it. And here's how I can help you. Follow for more. And that's really just the first video. And I bought this book. This person has no idea who I am, but Ron Culver, Making Mortgage Sense. I don't remember where I saw it, but someone posted it on LinkedIn. And are you familiar with this, Gab? You may have posted it now that I see it.
It wasn't me.
Oh, it would have been.
Wasn't me. I
Someone-
do know the book though.
And I was kind of struggling with school mortgage banking 1. As a 24-year-old, there's no college education around it. And so I bought this book, and it has been like my dictionary. And so in that, I think it's great content. In the back, there's a part that says glossary, and it has APR, conforming loan, DTI, and it gives you a definition. And me as a Gen Zer, I would so support any of these glossary terms and just repurposing them as content. Hey, are you curious what DTI means? Let's talk about how it impacts you and how much you're paying every month. Those are just simple things that like you can have consistent, constant. Maybe Tuesday is, hey, Glossary Tuesday, let's talk about it. What are you curious about? I'm sure on TikTok. Sorry, I'm going down such a rabbit hole. This just gets me so excited.
It's okay. I want to bring you back.
Yeah. Bring me back. Bring me back.
I like it.
Yeah. Take a drink.
Sorry.
Let's try this.
No.
Let's keep powering through this.
I get talking too fast and I watch these things back and I'm like, oh my gosh, Allie. Also, I love your poppy, Kayla.
Girl, strawberry lemon. Is that poppy too?
Yeah.
See, Skip, told you.
I'm just here with my regular old sparkling
Yeah, maybe you
water,
should.
so.
Yes, Skip. Love it.
But yeah, so I think TikTok is really where I have been seeing loan officers get engagement back and more questions to create content off of. So for instance, I had some gentleman reach out to me like back in February, and he was like, hey, I think I'm going to start posting TikToks. Will you follow me and give me honest feedback? And I was like, absolutely. Like, I was kind of nervous because I was like, I've been preaching it. Let's see if a loan officer who is not a Gen Zer can actually do this too. I knew he could, but it was like making sure. And so he starts posting these 30-second, 45-second videos like, hey, first-time home buyers, let's talk about what impacts your ability to qualify. Let's talk about how much a monthly payment. And he's not giving examples because sometimes those can be misleading. There's so many factors. But he's just saying, if this is something you're curious about, let's set up some time. Here's my cell phone, and it's in the comments. And he was getting 900 views on the first 5 videos he posted. And I was like, wow. And it's all because of how he's captioning it. He's like, hey, mortgage talk or first-time home buyers. And in the comment section, it's like 17 comments. Well, what do you mean by this? How does this impact how does my credit score impact my ability to qualify? How does it impact my monthly payment? And all those questions, those spur into more content. And I'm like, oh, take this question and do a full video on it. So anyone else curious about it. And so in that, just jumping in and saying, hey, this is what I do for a living. This is how I can help you. Chances are you're going to get some comments. You're going to get some more inspiration just based on the feedback on the video.
This is Kayla's a bit of an expert on this too. So
I'm just like, yes.
Sounds familiar.
Yes.
I knew I recognized you, Kayla. You're definitely all over my LinkedIn, and I'm always loving your stuff. And I don't think I've been able to like officially meet you. So yes, I'm so glad that we were on the same page.
Finally, good. Well, I'm glad to know. Well, but I think you're spot on. People are overcomplicating it. It's like you don't need to have a 5-minute reel. I think you guys, I've overcomplicated some of this stuff. And lately, I get my ideas from the silly questions clients ask me. The other day, well, can't my coworker give me money? Well, no, but I think they don't know that. Why wouldn't they know that? Right. And so, as you said, it's how can you just make this simple? And I love that you said, and then take that and turn it into something else.
Turn something bigger, for sure.
It's evergreen then. It's evergreen. Things are changing constantly, but you're spot on. You just said, turn it into something else. And then, like you also said, they stopped to scroll. So these people are scrolling. What's stopping them? And it's likely his headings, his captions. And that's brilliant to do that.
So if I'm hearing you right, then it's a lot like getting started in any other endeavor that makes us uncomfortable, whether it's going to the gym the first time or picking up a new sport or doing the social media or whatever, the cooking. You don't know how to cook. Everyone always sees like they think they've got to be an executive chef when they don't even know how to crack an egg open yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're setting your expectations too high. Let's start by learning how to do A, B, and C. And I think back to my original question, kind of what do you prescribe to those people? I think to get over their fear, get that initial push, you got to make it as simple as possible. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And I love that Kayla highlighted that you sometimes overcomplicate things. And I know I did when I first started. I was like, oh my gosh, these C-level executives are going to see me. They're going to know if I posted something that has too much of it or whatever. And it's funny, right before I left for Europe, I remember being like, oh my gosh, Epiphany, great idea, great topic. I want to share this with my LinkedIn network. But we were walking out the door to go to the airport and I didn't have any makeup on. And I was like, I don't really care. Like if this is me, 100% me. And if someone doesn't like it, too bad. So I jumped on my video and I recorded a video and I was like, hey, this is my big takeaway. I just had a light bulb go off, wanted to share with y'all before I headed out to Europe. And I showed it to my mom, and God bless my mom. I love her. I know we had talked about her at the beginning of this call, but she's amazing. But I think she grew up in a different era in the mortgage industry where there was so much pressure to be professional. And I showed her the video and I said, Mom, what do you think about this? And she goes, honey, you're not wearing makeup. And I was like, and I love her. Like, I'm very confident in myself. Like, I was like, that's not the problem. I was like, how's the content? And she's like, it's great, but do you want to post it on LinkedIn? And I was like, I sat there and I was like, yes, I do. Because we need to normalize the lack of importance in appearance and more so talk about, hey, they're jumping into it. They're bold enough to actually start. And it's that mentality that I think overcoming is the biggest part of like, what's my arch nemesis from high school going to think if they seen you without makeup on Instagram? So it's like fighting your mountains. Do you want to fight that mountain in your head? Or do you want to fight, hey, I have way too many leads coming in from Instagram? So I think that it's really deciding where you want to exert your energy. And if you're going to let your arch nemesis from high school get onto you for not wearing makeup, then that's the mountain you climb.
Yeah. But also, I love that you say that too, because there's times where I'm like, oh, I'm not posting today. I'm not wearing makeup. But humans relate to other humans. And what makes you human is imperfections and really the fact that they can relate to you. So someone might look at you and say, oh, I can't relate to her. She's really successful. Or they look at Skip and they're like, Skip's crushing everything. I feel like he does. But I can't relate to them. But then when they see you in a casual atmosphere,
Vulnerable.
You get more people.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Kelly's exactly right. Let's just take me right now, for example, right? If this is even 10 years ago, would I be doing this in a hoodie? No. I would at least have on a button-down shirt, probably a jacket, and maybe even a tie doing this interview. But now this is just, hey, this is what it is. This is real people, right? So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It makes you relatable and much more connectable.
100%.
It's like when I worked at the bank, and I had to wear a suit and tie every day. I'd be out at the grocery store or whatever. Nobody recognizes me. It's like I'm Superman. Like it's totally different. I've got the Clark Kent thing going. Nobody knows me because I'm not in my suit and tie. It's like, man, that's really just not very relatable, is it? So, it's a thing.
I think that highlights also the difference in our industry 30 years ago versus now. And it's like, a majority of my friends, they work from home, they live a casual lifestyle. And then there's industries that seem really intimidating because they have these pressures on them. And so I have these executives come to me, they're like, why is nobody else your age in our industry? And I'm like, first of all, you aren't recruiting at the right level, in my opinion. I think that people
this is a big topic for me.
Yeah, I think that it should be talked about at college campuses. I think the mortgage industry has this negative connotation, but we have this ability to build trust and show that we care at a earlier age, whether it's through financial literacy courses or sponsoring an event at something for college recruiting, because I know that the way that we pay people is a little bit different in this industry compared to, I worked at Oracle before this. It's a little bit different, but there's so much value in being able to look up to someone and be an LOA or learn from the bottom up. And just looking at the industry as a whole, there's going to be such a gap. And my fear is that our industry isn't going to let our walls down and let people show up on LinkedIn without makeup or do things to where there's associated, like, not competitiveness, like risk and nervousness. It's still with our industry.
See, I like that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here and talk about the lack of youth in mortgage and banking. All right. So I think there's a lot of things. So just to set it all here. You're 24. I'm 42. Kayla's 57. So I'm kidding.
If
But
he teases you, it means you're welcome and he likes you.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
learned.
yeah, that's If I'm not giving you a hard time, that's a bad sign. All right. So, but anyway, I started in this business right out of college. Okay. I didn't mean to. It's not like I was going to school and I was like, I can't wait to get into secondary marketing.
Right.
Nobody, and people who have listened to this show for a long time know we've talked about this time and again, and nobody sets out to become a mortgage professional, a loan officer in particular. And so it's something that it says something for our industry that people can kind of come into this and really help people the way that we do, because Kayla uses this all the time. We are helping create generational wealth in the people that we help. And so with that in mind, people may say that banking and mortgage it's not a very sexy profession. Well, no, you're right. It's not, but it's very impactful. And I think if we focus more on that than the way that people think of us as like JP Morgan and 19.
Right.
So it's like, no, that's not the bulk of us. I mean, sure, there are going to be some stuffy folks, but it's also like the transactional LOs from the pre-2008 era. Sure, there's still some of them around, but the bulk of them are like Kayla. They're like I was, and that's trying to really help people achieve a specific set of goals. And I think if we focus on that, it's going to give people a better sense of accomplishment, a better sense of self and purpose, and advertising that will bring more people in to the mortgage industry. And so I'm kind of curious to see what your thoughts are on that whole thing I just said.
So I'm going to paint a picture real quick. This is how I knew that I could someday be convinced. We were on vacation. I want to say it was when I was younger. I was in Italy. I want to say my freshman year of either high school or sophomore year of high school. We went to Italy a couple years ago. Not a couple, like 10 years. And I remember we had rented this catamaran, which shout out to the mortgage industry. My parents are both in it. We were able to afford an amazing lifestyle growing up. And that's one of the big reasons. If you're a hustler, this is a great industry for you to be in. But also, I remember being up at 4 a.m. We had rented this catamaran and I got out of bed because I could hear my mom on the phone. And I was like, she does not get up on the weekend before 10 a.m. That is just her. That's her time. And so I was like, it was a Saturday, the first Saturday of vacation. And I think it was still like 5 p.m. in the US. So whatever the time zone was, but it was middle of the night in Italy. And so I went up on the pool deck and I was like, Mom, what are you doing? And she was like, go to bed. She's like, someone's at the closing table. I have to make sure that they close on time. And I remember sitting there thinking, it's me at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Mom, let's go do something. And she's like, 5 more minutes. But that person at the closing table in Florida was so important to her because she loved her job so much. And she got to help them get into the house before Saturday when the moving truck showed up. And she's the people that gets Christmas cards from her clients because they remember how much she was able to help them. And it's that relationship of the industry that I think is missed when talking to next generations.
1,000%.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. So
I think you're onto something when you say that because ask Skip. Sometimes he'll call me and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But I feel like lately loan officers and the people in the industry are almost treated like a commodity.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
If they only really knew how much someone could care, like look at your mom, like that's incredible. Yeah. And not every client gets that service. They should get that service. But I think they lump everyone into one category. And truthfully, it can be so impactful and it's generational. It's generational wealth. And that's going to impact you. You saw how your family grew up and now you want to take that to your own and create your own family. And I just think you're spot on. I think there's like a pessimistic
with our industry. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've felt it a lot lately in probably the last couple of years since probably COVID. I felt that. So I don't know if you're experiencing
people exiting the industry. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. People exiting the industry could be good and bad, but it's also like, oh, well, my job, like they're probably really unhappy with their job right now. But the people who are making it through and like have a positive mindset, I'm eager to see on the other side. I've never been in the industry during all this. So it's all very new to me and I'm talking to my mom about it, but she's been like, Allie, it's working its course, but really the people who care and love their job are going to stay in it. And
that's very true.
That's the optimism in what we're going through right now.
No, that's 100% correct. I mean, having been through the '08 mess, I mean, yeah, it was painful. But it also got rid of a lot of people that are better off doing something else. And with this recent downturn after the COVID boom, we saw obviously a lot of people coming into the industry, and that gravy train ended, and you actually have to work for it now. And so now they've moved on to something else, and it's just part of it. But your mom being in this for 30 years, I've been in it for 20. Kale's been in it for, I don't know, 112.
I knew.
Yeah.
It's 2017.
2017.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too long.
So we're going to be in it, I mean, in one capacity or another for good. Allie, like you said, you're starting to do your AMP, which is great. The guy that wrote that book you held up works for
Ron Culver.
Yeah, he works for, I believe, Stockman Bank in Montana.
Oh, there.
If I'm not mistaken. And so so one of his, I'm sorry?
I need to reach out to him because I am recommending this to all of the people that I talk to because it really does break down acronyms. It breaks down what went on in my head during school mortgage banking, where they're like, well, here's wholesale, here's correspondent. And I'm like, how does it all link back? And where is the money coming from? And so this
thin air. No. Yeah, I mean, reach out to him. I went to school of mortgage banking with another Stockman employee. So, and you know the value of this. Obviously, we all have to do a good job of taking advantage of the connections and the people that we're exposed to. But I want to shift gears 1 second as we kind of wrap things up a little bit today, Allie. I want to ask you about the Gen Z guru. Okay. All right. Now, how did you get this title bestowed upon you? Was this something that you sought out and gave yourself, or did someone give it to you?
It's very self-proclaimed.
Were you crowned, or did you steal it?
It was very self-proclaimed. But like people kept asking me what I was doing, and I was like, I'm just talking about Gen Z. They're like, well, what is it? Like, what do you mean? I'm like people have been asking me to come and speak at conferences, and they're like, account executive at Active Comply has nothing to do with Gen Z and how to reach next generation consumers. And in that, I really talk about the importance of social media. But really, when I sit in conferences, people are like marketing to Gen Z. I remember my first TMC event, it was a roundtable about talking about Gen Z. And I was the only one. And everyone was like, well, my niece thinks this. My son is always on TikTok. And I was like, I need to tell the industry like what my bachelor wine nights consist of. I need to tell them like the actual like transparent conversations. And I think I shared this at the Acuma event, but I moved to Nashville almost 2 years ago. And when I moved here, I made a good group of girlfriends, and I had made them through a friend dating app, like a friend app. It was called Bumble BFF. So anyone in new areas of the country looking to make friends, chances are there's a Bumble BFF group there wanting to add you. So I ended up making a core group of friends here. We hung out for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I started traveling for work. And they were like, Allie, we were at the pool one day, and they were like, we've all been trying to figure out what is the mortgage industry. And I was like, what? And they were like, I was like, well, do you know what a realtor is? And they're like, oh, absolutely. That's who you buy a home through. And I was like, no, you look at a home, you figure out what you want, you get to tour properties. But really the key to the whole equation is a loan officer who's going to help you finance that. And they were like, oh, so you're that? And I was like, well, I'm actually not, but I'm helping.
You're confusing them even more.
Talk about, and they're like, okay, you're in the mortgage industry. I'm like, exactly. But that just speaks to the power of the lack of conversations being had at the 24, 25 post-college age and what the speculation is in our industry. So I really just kind of was like, hey, I'm studying Gen Z, self-proclaimed Gen Z guru.
I like it.
The alliteration, I was like, all right, fine. We're going to run with it. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I've been doing, but I interview first-time home buyers, prospective first-time home buyers, anyone that I know rents. I ask them why, and I kind of talk to them out loud about, hey, this is how much you could be building in equity versus paying someone else's mortgage. And it just really brings light to these conversations and the lack of awareness.
Do you use like a rent versus own calculator, like MBS Highway? Do you use mortgage? Like, what are you using when you're talking to these people to demonstrate what they could be gaining in equity?
So I have just been having very transparent conversations with them. I don't actually show them. I just am like, hey, listen, when you think about it. And I remember I had one interview where I told my friend, like, so she lived in South Florida. And I was like, she's like, Allie, I can't afford a house right now. And I was like, well, how much do you think you need to have saved before you even start having the conversation? And she said, $100,000. And I said, girl, I said, let's sit down. Let's find a house on Zillow. We found like, I don't know, a $350,000 house. And I was like, realistically, you only need about $17,500 for down payment. I'd save maybe an extra couple grand for closing costs and everything. But really, you don't need more than $25,000 saved. And that's like in a perfect world. Like that's without any first-time homebuyer programs. I tried to talk her through but the fact that she thought 6 figures was what she needed before even reaching out to anyone in the area.
Yeah, for a 7-figure house.
Yeah. And so then I was like last night, I was actually on a walk down Music Row with my best friend here in Nashville. And I was so proud of her. She always tries to shut me out. And I'm like, let's talk about buying a home. Like when our lease is up, we don't live together, but our lease is expired at a similar time. I'm like, what about buying a home? And she's like, Allie, I can. And so today or yesterday we were walking and she was like, well, I talked to my dad because she wants to relocate to Florida in a couple of years. And she's like, well, if I go next year, I think I have enough saved for a down payment. And I was like, oh, I think she actually is thinking about it. And she was like, I don't want to keep renting. And she was like, you were able to teach me so much about like how I will never see that money again. And so I was so happy for her, but it was like a slow drip for her to finally be like, okay, I agree.
Hey, I'm hearing a lot of, I need to refer my friends to Kayla talk. That's what I'm hearing.
Hey,
a lot of.
I will happily make some intros.
I lend in all 50 states. You say these things and I'm like, what? People don't know that? But even my own clients, they'll be, again, Fargo, North Dakota, and they will get a second home in Florida. And sometimes they'll even blank and they're like, oh, I totally didn't even think you could finance my home. You know what I mean? So even that triggers like the things that people just don't know until you.
But it's so important to be posting consistently because people in your network will be like, oh, she does that. I should reach out to her. And like one of the interviews I did, my friend, I was asking him, like, he's like, oh, I was going through TikTok one day and my friend from college posted that she's a mortgage broker. So that's who's helping me now. And I was like, so you found her through TikTok? And he was like, yeah. He's like, I didn't end up going with her because of some weird thing, but he was like, she would have got my business if it was able to work out. I don't know what happened, but moral of the story, because she was talking about her job on TikTok, he reached out to her, set up a meeting and got the conversation started just because he knew her from high school.
There you go.
Well, and people think that you're using social media, and a lot of the people ask me, like, are you just getting randoms from other states? And I'm like, no, I'm staying in front of especially the Fargo-Moorhead community where people know me, but they might not remember. And so a lot of the times the people that you might even talk to, Allie, that you find are getting these deals, it's not just some random, it's people that they actually know through a friend or just have no idea. It's staying consistent in front of people. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but going back to what you said a minute ago too, for both of you guys, I think it's really important no matter what industry you're in, and we all do it, is don't forget that what we deal with day in and day out, every second of our career, is not what somebody else does. They may do it 2 or 3 times, maybe in their lifetime. And each one of those times is going to be different because it's going to be a different market, different this, different that. And so we have to be really, really cognizant of how we speak and speak their language.
100%. This
Yeah. There you go.
Dude, I swear, I didn't even know who Ron Colbert was. He has no idea that I'm out here fully saying, go buy this book.
Don't think I'm not going to tag him now on this.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. So,
good. And maybe I'll get the chance to give him all the accolades. And I love this book. So
I don't know him. I just know who he is. So, hey, it'll be a chance for us all to expand our network. Okay.
100%.
Before I let you go, Allie, tell me how some folks that have done kind of what you're seeking out to do before you, like, say, let's just talk about Kristen Messerly, for example. She does great work and does a lot of similar things, or has a lot of similar, I guess, goals in mind. How did the people that came before you, how do they impact what you do and how you go about trying to send your message?
Oh, absolutely. I keep saying that after you ask the question. Sorry. But 100% valid. And I love this topic because I would not. So when I first started in January, this video series, Kevin Peranio, I went to him. I don't know if you guys know Kevin. He was speaking on a session about using social media to engage with future borrowers. And I was sitting there and I was like, and it was a gentleman from NFM named Greg Shear. and Garth Graham, and they were on this, and I had heard all their names. And I was like, wow, they're all so big and they're talking about a topic I really care about. And they made great points. They talked about the power of influencing through social media. They talked about the numbers, the average age of a loan officer. And so after the session, I was sitting there and I was like, I need to start making this my brand. I need to start talking about it. I need to let people know that I'd be a trusted resource when it comes to Gen Z borrowers. But I went up to KP after the session and I said, listen, I think I could take this and run with it. And I said, I know that people do it before me, but I think I could make a whole different spin talking about social media and Gen Z primarily. And he was like, absolutely. And he was like, if nothing else, like you're just adding to what other people have done. And also, I wasn't ever trying to take Kristen's reign, and she's been such a queen. Like she has fully been like, hey, if you don't know Allie, you need to know her. Hey. Mm-hmm. And I love her work, and it just shows her passion for her career by her lifting me up and encouraging me. So if you do not follow Kristen Messerly, she is the trailblazer for really the next generation borrower. But we've really partnered together to really specialize like, hey, how can we create content? How can I help First Home IQ? How can we talk about the conversations I'm having and how they compare to millennials? And so we've really partnered together, Kristen and I, but it takes a village. Like KP, Garth, Greg Shear, all of them have really helped boost my network. Skip, now Kayla, like you guys have been, everyone in the industry no one has been negative towards me. And if they have, then I didn't really notice it. So
they don't matter anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still probably going to be doing whatever I feel is necessary and impactful for our industry. So in that, it takes people who want to encourage me. I remember Brian View, if you guys know him, he was the first person that shared my video and reached out to me and was like, let me help you reach more people. And it takes people encouraging me and like your network through this podcast. So I think that I would not be here today at all without people like Kristen and other influencers before me.
I love it. I love it. All right, Allie.
I love that.
Last thing.
Yeah.
You got to give me something about you that my listeners would not expect.
I think, I'm trying. So I love FSU and the Jaguars, but that's kind of a given. The password on my phone is Kenny Chesney's birthday. It has been since like the 9th grade. So I hope no one ever gets a hold of my phone. That is just a random fact that only my best friends know. And
now a lot of other people know it.
Do you have an Android or an iPhone?
An iPhone.
So I have to change my password to something different every time.
Oh my gosh. I've never changed it. Yeah.
Really?
March 26th. That's Kenny Chesney's birthday.
Yeah, I need 6 digits. I have to change it every.
There it is.
Anyway.
It is.
Yeah.
Good random fact. I like
that one. That one might go in the Hall of Fame.
I like that.
That's gonna be a good
password to my phone.
Be a good one, so.
Yeah, I never thought I'd give that out as a random fact, but I loved Kenny Chesney growing up, so that was really the biggest random fact. But yeah, if anyone ever gets my phone, you know how to get in.
Oh my god,
hilarious! All right, so if the listeners want to learn more about you and what you're all about, where should they go?
LinkedIn first, Allie Carty, and then I've been sharing that I'm slowly building content through my Instagram because I want to be consistent. So come the first of the year, every Tuesday, Thursday, I'm hoping to post a different topic, different image. So right now I'm kind of building my library, which I think is fine for anyone out there wanting to get started. Build it so that you can be consistent. But Allie Carty Mortgage, and then TikTok, Get to Know Gen Z, very similar, building up some stuff like the TMC thing I just mentioned to y'all. But yeah, connect with me on all those platforms, and I'm slowly, hopefully, going to be launching more and more content.
Very good. Kayla, did you have anything else for Allie today?
No, I would just say that it's very refreshing to have someone else really get it and see the potential that people could have. Because so often I meet with people and skip this, it's like, huh? And I just really appreciate the detail and the honesty and the experiences that you've had and you've shared. So thank you for being on.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate both of you guys for not only allowing me on today, but having really insightful conversations. Sometimes it's like, doesn't really always make sense, like you said, Kayla. So thank you.
Glad we could
All
help.
right, we'll have to do it again. All right, we'll have to do it again. So, Allie, I'm sure I'll see you soon on the conference circuit. And until then, though, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.